Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Charlie Kirk dismantles this kid's entire terrible theory about stolen land and re-educates him of what actually happened in the settling of the North American continent. Let's dive in.
The main thing that I just want to talk about is the issue of immigration. And I personally, I don't think it's a bad thing for America. In fact, I do think that it's an amazing thing for America. But mostly the thing that I'm trying to hit on is like how many immigrants are being persecuted right now, including Kilmar Obrego Garcia. Before you respond, or before I even say anything, I just want to acknowledge the fact. I want to acknowledge the fact that we are right now on stolen land, and that we are on indigenous land, and that we are on original Mexican land right now. And for a lot of you guys that are Latinos of Trump, for Latinos for Trump, personally me, I am a second-generation Mexican Guatemalan, and I am blessed to have been born in America, although I do not think that Mexicans for Trump should stand for the Latinos in this country. Okay, now I get in. Now I'll
wait. So I just want to make sure. I love this stolen land argument.
Okay.
If we stole the land and you're mad about it,
I'm not saying that it's not a better country right now. I'm just saying that right now, especially like the things that we're taught in school, in public education, we're taught about the Alamo and how it was this amazingly patriotic act, though it was literally stealing a base from the Mexicans in their own land. I think that that's kind of the wrong angle to be looking at things, and that's why I really make it a point to notice that I'm on stolen land at all times, especially when we think about things like Manifest Destiny.
Who did the Mexicans steal the land from?
Actually, the Mexicans were there originally in Texas.
No,
because
not correct.
Because
wrong. They stole it from lots of Indian tribes. That's not correct. Thousands of years before, they were Indian tribes. So the Mexicans actually
the Mexicans
stole the
were
land.
originally Mexicans were Aztecs and Mayans. And
well,
many
some of
other
them, hold on,
indigenous
Texas
people.
was not indigenously Mexican, though.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Cherokee. There were
Okay.
many different Native American tribes there. So Mexico was participating in Manifest Destiny at the behest of the Spanish crown.
Yes, at the behest of the Spanish
so
crown.
at some point, you have to believe in self-determination.
Okay.
If you can win the land, it's yours.
Okay.
That is what built the West.
I can agree
and
with
so
you on that.
instead of
Thank you
saying
for,
land acknowledgement, we're on stolen land, you know what you should have? You should have a gratitude acknowledgement. Praise God, I live in America. I'm glad.
As we approach the 4th of July, I think it's actually time that we need to acknowledge Mexico's own independence, Cinco de Mayo, where they want independence from France. You know, if this kid actually bothered to pick up a history book and would logically go down his own train of thought, he'd realize that Mexico has been colonized multiple times. So when he uses the phrase, the original Mexicans, what he's really saying is all the conquered people that were colonized by the Spanish Empire. So in other words, this guy doesn't even understand his own origin. He doesn't understand that Mexico won its independence from France. It then had to get independent from Spain. It then had to be independent from the Aztecs. The amount of conquest that happens throughout Mexico history is a unique form throughout North America. They've had an unusual amount of conquests. Meanwhile, South America got liberated in the 1820s. The United States liberated ourselves back in the good old 1776 days. And this kid, you think that if he's going to go around strutting around with this idea that, oh, I acknowledge that I'm on stolen land. There's no such thing as stolen land. Okay? There's no such thing as stolen land. There's appropriated land. There's conquered land. There's land that we have managed to actually cultivate for ourselves. There's land that we give to other people out of the kindness of our own hearts. Granted, that history does come with some other issues. Just ask the Native Americans. But the reality is, history is basically the understanding of how things were conquered. Okay, the sooner this kid can get that through his skull, the sooner he's going to understand that the reality is we improved the land. Back when Mexico owned a huge chunk of the West, they owned California, Nevada, Utah, I think parts of Oregon. Don't quote me on that one, but I also know it was definitely Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Oklahoma, Colorado, and Texas. They used to own Texas. Well, the Texans said, well, we don't like how Santa Anna has been treating us. We have all these new settlers come in. They actually had their own little founding fathers movement. One of the most unique individuals in American history wasn't just Davy Crockett coming from Tennessee. By the way, Buc-ee's and Sevierville I've got to have a Davy Crockett shout out there somewhere. But one of the most unique individuals in American history was Sam Houston. And he was instrumental in creating the Texas Republic. And that helped change American history forever. All right? The reason that we look at the Alamo and think of it also as American history is because it became part of America. They chose to join us. Ironically, Sam Houston said this is going to be a bad idea for everyone involved. He ended up being right for the next 20 years, but that's not what this video is about. Charlie Kirk is doing his best to rework this kid who is clearly articulate. I actually want to say thank you to this kid. Thank you for being articulate, being pleasant. You are a reasonable human being, even though when you got corrected, you kind of did cross your arms and gave that little scowl like, how dare you? So at least you're articulate. But I have to throw almost all of that out because of the way this kid started the video. He started it by saying that Abreu Garcia is someone who is being oppressed. Abreu Garcia entered to this country illegally in 2011. He is now facing criminal charges because he got caught trafficking people from likely the Mexican border and somewhere in Texas. He got caught in Tennessee. He's been extradited from El Salvador after being deported. And the whole reason behind any of this kerfluffle was the fact that we deported him one step too soon. We didn't get a judge to lift the order of saying that, no, he can't go back to El Salvador, even though El Salvador is a changed nation. That nation realized it had a fundamental problem. It had a crime problem, a very bad crime problem. Not like the smashing a window every now and then in your car door to look for spare change. I'm talking about actual threats from people like MS-13, who are one of the most ruthless gangs in this entire continent. And Abreu Garcia, as it turns out, was being threatened by a rival of MS-13's gangs. That's why he left, which means that you've had some association with another gang. You don't get messed around with unless you're paying protection money, or you've had some other association and, yeah, you messed with the wrong bunch of people. So he fled to the United States, did not seek asylum status. He flagrantly abused the system, and now he's been caught with multiple people that were a direct part of MS-13. He is apparently in good standing with the gang. And by the way, one of the ways to show your loyalty to MS-13, you wear Chicago Bulls gear. Now, I know that sounds odd to someone who grew up in the 90s and loved the Chicago Bulls because Michael Jordan was the most amazing thing ever. I mean, after all, I was a fan of Space Jam. Oh, literally, that's why I was a fan of the dude. So it's a foreign idea, but the reality is these gangs have their own subcultures. They have their own identities, and that's one way to identify who's who. For this kid, not only to go on the stolen land tangent, but to also defend Abreu Garcia, tells me that he is either mentally broken by the mental institution that is our education system, or he is trying to be sympathetic towards Latinos because he feels a blood relationship there. And I can level with that. I can understand that. But the reality is, kid, when logic is facing you square in the eye, all right, and you are being told that the stolen land argument is bunk, it's bad history, it has no standing. Mexico used to be French, before then it was Spanish. Actually, before then it was actually independent. They were reconquered. Then it was Spanish. It was a colony of Spain. And, of course, you have the old Mayan and Aztec empires. By the way, the Aztecs were so bad at government, when Cortez showed up, he immediately had enough charisma to win over the other local tribes, and they went in and sacked the capital city. That's how Mexico got conquered. That and, smallpox. But this kid isn't really interested in history. He's interested in protecting his own identity. And I think the worst part about this entire video is the fact that I'm a Braves fan and I'm still salty that they took Freddie Freeman away from us. But Charlie Kirk is doing his best to rework these college kids' brains who have been so broken, not by college, but by a combination of Hollywood, the internet, and much, much worse, our public education system. I think we need to retool and reevaluate what we're doing there, because if this kid knew his history, he would not be talking in this manner. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.